as everybody continues to join us. Good. We are now streaming on YouTube as well. Awesome. Okay. All right, so I guess we can get going because we know that there's a lot to cover in this webinar. So first of all, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I'm Susan Acker. I'm a Director of Marketing here at CTI.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vibhuti Sharma. I'm the Marketing Coordinator at CTI, and we're so excited that you're all here today.
And we'd also like to welcome Roxane, Loiseaux, and Hope Langner for joining us today to present the power of coactive coaching for everyone here. Welcome to the webinar, Hope and Roxane.
Thank you, Susan. Welcome. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, nice. No, we have so many people with us, even if we can't see you.
Yeah. You know, it looks like we're up to 68 participants and still growing. So Vibhuti and I are actually joining and going to be supporting the webinar backstage with our cameras off. And Hope and Roxane are actually going to be hosting this webinar for you and demonstrating the power of coactive coaching. But before V and I turn off our screens, we just wanted to help set up the webinar. So we'll let you know what's in store for you in the next hour. Okay, so we're going to start. Hope and Roxane are going to start with a very brief introduction to what coaching is. They're going to introduce you to a coaching tool that you'll be able to use right away. You're going to witness a real live coaching demo with a volunteer that registered for this webinar. During the demo, you're going to experience several coaching skills. After the coaching session, there's going to be a debrief where you'll get to participate in the debrief and hear how the whole coaching session unfolded. And then at the end, we're going to save time for everybody to ask questions and get answers to their questions during the webinar. So that's pretty much what to expect. The last two things that I'll say before handing everything over to Hope and Roxane is that we are recording this webinar. It is streaming to YouTube, and we will be sharing the recording of the webinar with everybody after the webinar in a follow-up email. And please use the chat feature to, express what you're noticing and to engage with your fellow participants. And if you have any specific questions that you want to ask Hope and Roxane, please use the Q&A chat. And V and I will be backstage helping to answer your questions while Hope and Roxane concentrate on really demonstrating the power of coactive coaching. So from here, V and I, we're going to turn off our cameras. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And we'll leave it to Hope and Roxane to talk about confidentiality and context.
Thank you, Susan and Vibhuti.
Susan, yeah.
Good.
Okay, so we will start, as Susan was saying, just to give you a little bit more context for what we'll be doing today, and then we'll get into showing you what coactive coaching looks like.
Yeah, so of course, we are here in a different setup from where a coaching session would normally happen. This is a very public setup. Which means that we can't hold confidentiality the way we would normally hold with our clients, where whatever we share with clients remains confidential. Here, we're going to be doing a coaching session with somebody who has volunteered to be a client in front of an audience. So, okay, to be sharing their personal information. So just to let you know, we have the permission to do this. Thank you very much to our volunteer. With that, you'll be receiving the replay as well for you to, as you say, look at it again and further learn from it if you want to.
Yeah, and also just want to emphasize as well that our volunteers bringing a topic that is real for them to the coaching. We don't know what that topic is. There's no scripting that's involved. This is all going to be happening in the moment from whatever the volunteer brings with them. So we want you to have that background as well. Let's see, is there anything else, Roxane, that we need to tell people before we begin?
Let's just dive in, I say. Yeah. So what is coaching? Vibhuti, do you want to show that slide about what is coaching, please? So this is a definition that comes from the International Coaching Federation, which is one of our main regulating bodies. And it says, I read it and it will hopefully come on screen, that coaching is partnering with individuals in a thought-provoking, creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. Yeah. So that's what the general definition of coaching is.
Okay. And I am going to just see if I can share my slides, because it seems, or Roxane, actually, I think you were going to be able to do that. It seems like our backstage partners are not able to do that right now.
Let me do that.
So just bear with us a moment. Let me see if I can do it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just about to.
Okay, great.
Find it. Here we go. Hopefully you can see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the definition I've just read. Is that visible?
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. I'm assuming that people can see it. If you can't, would you just let us know in the chat and we'll adjust? But oh yeah, people are saying yes. Okay.
Good.
So,
technology.
good.
Yeah, I see a little thumb flying across my screen. So of course, in our own words, for me, in what is coaching, it's really about accompanying people on a journey of evolution. We, as human beings, we just keep evolving from the day we're born. Obviously, childhood is very obvious to see we're evolving, but as adults, we also carry on changing and transforming. So we just, as coaches, we have the privilege and it's a pleasure to be alongside people as they are becoming more who they are.
Yeah, and that I love what you're saying, Roxane, because it really says so much about what we do actually as coaches is help people see more into themselves and into their own desires and dreams and plans for the future. So our job isn't to know what they need, it's actually to just know how to ask them questions that help them open up into more of their own thinking and more of their own understanding of themselves, and help them get clearer about what's next for them and how they want to move forward in their own lives.
Yeah, so it's very much a journey, an internal journey about, more self-awareness, more maybe challenging some beliefs I might have about myself, so that I make the changes on the outside with these next steps that Hope is referring to. This is moving into action to actually make some changes. Yeah.
So it's really so much about building awareness of oneself and learning about oneself at a deeper level so that we can move forward in our lives.
Yeah, and we rely on this coaching relationship over time. So today you're going to see a snapshot of what could be a small coaching session could look like. And the reality, of course, is coaching happens over time. So just bear that in mind in terms of context of what you're seeing today, that it would be, there would be a follow-up and then another session, and then we'll be holding our clients in between sessions.
Yeah. And the other thing to note is this session is going to be about 15 minutes long, which is much shorter than a usual session. Most sessions run some, really short ones might run 20 to 30 minutes. Many coaches coach in 30-minute increments. Many others do 45 minutes or an hour. So the length is decided on ahead of time, but we just want to give you a picture of what it could look like. And that's what we'll be doing today.
Yeah. So we can introduce the tool we'll be using today. So I'll share my screen again. And hopefully you can see that.
Great. This tool is called the Wheel of Life, and we use it as a coaching tool. You could even, you'll notice there are 8 sections, 8 categories here. These are the ones we use as sort of a standard, but you could use any categories that are important to you in the work that you're doing. If you're in a business context, some of these might be a bit different. This one is really set up for personal coaching.
Yeah. So we'll just go through very briefly what the 8 sections are. Some of them are quite self-explanatory, but careers, obviously, in terms of your own professional development, family and friends, so the relationships you have with your close people around you. And some people prefer to separate these two into separate categories. So you can, decide to also do that.
Yeah. And the next one, go ahead.
Significant other romance. So the person you're sharing your life with, or if you don't have somebody to share your life with in an intimate relationship, that's also included in this.
Fun and recreation is the next one. Like, how do you enjoy yourself when you have some time, or even in the moment when you're working? Like, what do you do to create more fun in your life? And how do you unwind and relax? The next one is health. Next one is money. And really, again, one of the things we haven't said yet is you'll see there are numbers here from 1 to 10. And what we're looking at is level of satisfaction in these areas. So it's not like, for money, for example, it's not like, I have a lot of money or I don't have a lot of money. It's more like, how satisfied are you in your life with the amount of money you have, or with the way you relate to money in your life? So that's the kind of question we'd be asking. The next category, personal growth. And again, that's going to mean different things to different people. And it can be, the words can shift if you need them to, but basically looking at how are you growing as a human being in this life that you're in. Yeah.
And then physical environment is where you are physically. So it might be your home, might be your town, your office, your country, Earth as a planet. You decide how broad you're looking here, but it's a much more sort of physical look that we have in physical reality of your environment. So as Hope was saying, how do we use this tool? Basically, as you see, the intention is that gives you a picture of your whole life, and there are, as you say, more sections we could include, but for now, that's what we're looking at. And what we're asking you to do, and that's what we ask our clients to do with it, is to take a moment to just measure my level of satisfaction in each of these areas. And it's my satisfaction in this moment.
Yeah. So, and I love that point. It's so important that it's in this moment, because this afternoon or this evening or tomorrow, it may be different for you. Something may show up in your life or may happen that changes how you feel about certain parts of your life. And you'll also start to see that different parts of this wheel in your own life may relate to other parts. So that's one of the things that starts to get evident as you look at the whole set of items and how you've rated each one.
Yeah, so let's move to the next slide just a little bit more, so you can see it a little bit better here. So that's the first half of the circle. And let's take an example. I might say, well, okay, I'm giving myself a 4 of satisfaction in the area of career. And as Hope was saying earlier, it's not in comparison what it should be or how important career is for me. It's really like, how am I satisfied right now? So I might be having, a fantastic job in a super valued company and still give myself a 4 satisfaction. Right. Or I might be unemployed and actually perfectly happy with my state of unemployment. Yeah?
Exactly.
So that would be the first step, is to my current level of satisfaction. And then we look at, so what would I like it to be? So maybe I would like, in this example, I would like to feel an 8 of satisfaction in this area. And what it does, of course, it creates this creative tension between the current state of reality and the desired state of reality, which is where coaching is going to play a role, of course.
Yeah. One of the ways I think about coaching is coaching gives us a sense of where we are in this moment and where we want to be, and then helps us get from where we are to where we're headed. And so that, this wheel can help sort of narrow down where we want to put our attention. And it could go, there's so many other choices we have, but it really gives us a big picture of how we think about coaching.
Yeah.
So
you don't have much time now to do self-reflection because we obviously want to move to the you seeing a demo, but you obviously have this tool now, feel free to go back to it afterwards, take a moment to reflect and actually score your wheel of life. And what we're now going to do is show you how it can be used in a coaching setup.
Yeah. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to do coaching with our volunteer, whose name is Ismail. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. I'll check in a moment. And again, Ismail has volunteered to do this coaching, knowing it is going to be on recording and is going to be on YouTube. So it's really it will be up to him to share as much as they wish and to design the coaching with me. So you'll see that unfold in a moment. Afterwards, we'll do a debrief, have a conversation to say, to share what happened and how we did that. And
so while you observe the coaching session, pay attention to what Hope is doing. It's very tempted to be focused on a lovely client. And for our debrief and for your learning, look at what Hope is doing, how she's being, and that will be, resources for our debrief afterwards. So I'm going to go off video.
Okay.
And Hope, shall I give you a sign?
Oh, yeah. We're going to do 15 minutes of coaching. So Roxane, if you would let me know when we've gone 12 minutes, that will give me enough of a sense to wrap up. Great.
Let me get on video here.
Great.
Hi. Can you see me? Hear me?
Yes,
okay?
I see you. Yep. It's good to see you. Welcome.
Good morning. Well, good morning to us here in California, if you're in California.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm in upstate New York. So just so you have a sense of we're about 3 hours apart time-wise.
Absolutely.
And Ismail, did I pronounce your name correctly? Because I want to make sure.
Yes. Yes. Ismail or Ismael, if you're, if you're Hispanic background, they pronounce it that way, but Ismail is just fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for volunteering and being willing to be coached here. So I think I'd like to just start to see, is there anything specific or anything special you'd like to set up with me ahead of time? Anything that you'd like from me as your coach in this 15 minutes?
I figured the foremost part would be the areas of like my career and primarily where I'm at right now. I can go back and kind of tell you a quick snapshot of like, what's been happening recently with me and my career and my job and everything else. But that would be an area that I'd like to maybe chat about or discuss if possible.
Great. Yeah, we can absolutely look at career. And what I'd like to do is actually work with our tool, and then the questions for you will come out of that, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Sure.
Great. So, what's your level of satisfaction right now with career in your life?
If looking at the Wheel of Life chart, I would probably say it's around like 5 or 6, only because of a recent layoff we had just last year and this year that affected me and many people, as you may have heard. It's been pretty hectic.
Yeah. So I actually haven't heard anything about your particular situation. So if you could talk a little bit about what career looks like at 5 or 6 for you, like what's your feeling, what's your awareness of career in your life right now?
Well, I was a recruiter for a tech company where they had massive layoffs this year and just last year. So I've been unemployed since like mid-December. And since then, I worked in recruiting for about 7 years at this company. And since then, I've always been like wondering, like, well, where exactly am I at right now in my life, in my career? Do I still want to continue with recruiting? Do I want to do something very different? This layoff has brought me to think about and reflect on what I want to do, and that's sort of unclear at the moment. There's some areas that I'm really passionate about that I've noticed in my recruiting career that really has lit a fire on me, and just I'm trying to understand where do I go with it. That's primarily where I've been still leaning on trying to understand.
Great. That's really helpful. Thanks for sharing that. And what I'm hearing, let me just check this with you. I'm hearing that since the massive layoffs that happened, you've been unemployed. So that's been for about 3 to 4 months now. And you're really questioning, is this what I want to keep doing? Or is there something else that I would rather be putting my time and energy and creating my career in? Is that
Correct. Yes, it's I'm there where it's like, do I want to go back to what I was doing before? Do I need a job now? I've got bills to pay, but at the same time, it's like, but there's just something still missing there. I still want to do something different, possibly. So that's where I'm hanging.
Yeah. And then what's your imagination like? If you think about this wheel for a moment, again, you're at a 5 or 6 now. Where would you like to be?
Oh, I'd love to be at least at about like 8 or 9. I know 10 might be kind of overreaching. I mean, I would assume that's being perfect, having the perfect career. Not sure if that's feasible, but I mean, who knows? It's always encouraging. It's always like excited to feel like, what if I can get to a certain point in my life where it can reach a 10? But I'd love to be at an 8 or 9.
That's great. And the way I think about 10, it's almost like that's your long-term goal, and maybe the shorter term goal would be looking at how do you get from where you are now to the 8. Like, what would an 8 be for you?
Just primarily being happy and just being able to wake up each morning and just kind of be excited to actually want to start my day off and just feel motivated in the morning, just to kind of get up, and throughout the day just feel like at least I accomplished something after 8 hours, or however long it takes for me to get that job done.
Yeah. And when you say accomplish something, what kinds of things would you imagine accomplishing that would have you feel
Fulfilled? I want to feel fulfilled. At the same time, I
Yeah.
want to feel like I'm doing my part to help change somebody's life in some way or another.
Yeah. So that sounds like an important piece for you, is like helping change somebody's life, helping somebody find their own version of fulfillment and satisfaction, as
That's
you
correct.
find yours as well.
As a
And
recruiter, I was doing that quite often and helping people find that job.
yeah, and I notice your face light up when you say that.
Yeah.
There's something really delightful there for you. Yeah. What else are you aware of here, as I'm just seeing again, the expression on your face has really shifted.
Yeah, the thought of it just it excites me, and I think back to how I used to always talk to my candidates and helping them get through their interview process, taking away their anxiety, their nervousness on for their upcoming interview. So all that just played into like, wow, I really enjoyed doing this, because I got the feedback. They gave me a lot of feedback and saying, hey, I really enjoyed speaking with you. I really enjoyed the tips and the tricks you told me to how to interact and how to do this interview. I've never had somebody ever talk to me that way. That in and of itself really, really just excites me. And that's been, and that's the one part I love about recruiting. The part that I don't like is it's just a lot of the work to have to go find people and primarily all the processes that are involved. That's another story, but just, it's an area where I really enjoy, but then the recruiting part might be an area in terms of the processes and the rules and engagements and just the way a company would work. That's a little bit different. And I feel like I like to do something different than recruiting, but also be able to inspire people and just go that route.
Yeah, like I just have this sense, like I hear this creative free spirit in you that is really yearning to get more connected to what you do day to day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you said a little bit earlier, you said you talked about something lit a fire in you, and I'm curious about that also. Like you've used words like it excites me, it lit a fire in me. What else lights a fire in you?
Being able to just like the journey of it all. I really enjoy like learning new things and moving into I'm always looking to evolve and trying to learn new things, read new books, be inspired.
Yeah.
Because at least in that way, I can also use that as a way for me to talk to my candidates or be able to help them, inspire them. So that in and of itself, I love to read and learn and be able to just share that knowledge or share those experiences,
Yeah.
share like ideas to folks. So that really just lights a fire in me. I mean, right now, just talking about it gets me excited.
Yeah, I hear that. And I'm feeling that excitement also. There's like this energy that comes through you as you talk about this. And what I hear too is like you like being inspired, and you're also that inspiration that you feel starts to allow you to inspire others. And that's actually what feeds you and has you feel really content and fulfilled.
Exactly. One person at a time. It's more like if I can do that every single time, it's like it's a journey that I'm always going to be excited about if I were to go that route. Talking to people, even if it's just one person, that excites me.
And the other thing that comes through really clearly to me is how important relationships with people are for you, like making a difference in someone's life and really being connected to them, not so much to the details and the logistics and the processing, but actually just heart to heart, person to person seems like a really important part for you.
It is. And, I've always had as a recruiter, I'll go back to that. I always talk, every time I talk to my candidates, I was always telling them like, look, I'm going to be very transparent and upfront with you about everything. And they really, really appreciated that. So that was always an area that I felt that was always needed. But yeah.
Yeah. So, and I really hear your passion too, that like you have a sense of what's needed in recruiting.
Correct.
And I'm wondering, like, as we start to look at what's next, since that's something you've been also thinking about, what do you envision might be possible as we're starting to unpack some of this? What do you see from here?
It can go, I guess, in many avenues. I perhaps like do some quick videos, perhaps help go into some sort of like mentoring program, somewhere where at least I can create my own, even like do my own online coaching or just a small business, or just go in some way that route. Maybe use some of the experience that I have as a recruiter and use some of that knowledge to help with perhaps other avenues of like either coaching or mentoring, or even talking about it on video, helping people to inspire, giving them ideas, resources on what to look for. And it could go, I guess, in any avenue that I can think of. It could be recruiting or lifestyle or possibly even relationships. But those are the areas that could possibly be an area that I would love to focus on. I just don't know which one's going to be my right niche to even do that. But all that really excites me. It's just getting there. It's just trying to figure out how I'm going to get there and what's going to be best for me.
So it sounds like there are two really big questions in front of you. One is, what is the there that you want to get to? Which option do you want to go for? And the other is, how do you do it? So you mentioned a bunch of things. And again, I hear the creativity in you and the ideas, and I see like the light come on in your face as you talk about this. So you talked about video a couple of times, and then you also talked about coaching and mentoring. There's a lot of possibility here, and recruiting in a different kind of way. So if you were going to make a video, what would you make a video about, or how would you, like, what is it that you'd want to communicate?
I always believe like in productivity and always being intentional about your every decision that you make, and even until now, I'm trying to do that. As a new dad, and unemployed, I have to make the right choices. So if I were to make a video, it would have to be something where people can see that my decisions that I'm making every single day somehow has an impact in the long term. Something like that. That's primarily what goes through my mind every day, because I'm living it every day.
Yeah. So, I'm wondering too, like, you're living it every day, and it sounds like the video might bring that together more, that you'd actually like spend some time figuring out like, what have I been doing today that is making a difference, that's having an impact. So that may be part of something for you to start to do to see like what's the shape of what you're wanting to create here.
12 minutes.
Thanks, Roxane.
I was having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Thank you.
what do you think about that? Like, how would you go about that?
I think that would be a great idea. And basically I would just need to just figure out the avenues on how to even create a video, find the resources on the topics to talk about, do a lot of researching, possibly look at other folks who are doing the same thing, and just kind of see if I can mimic ideas or other videos that go in that direction. And perhaps maybe I'll find a better niche that way. I think it's just a matter of just expanding and broadening my searches on that and just kind of seeing where it takes me. I assume that's probably the best route. Do you think that would be a good idea, Hope?
Well, it sounds like you are fired up about it. That's the most important thing. And so I'm not gonna give you my vote on it because
Okay.
I don't know how that like
You're helping me figure that out on my own.
I've known you for a total of like 12 minutes, so it would be hard to say, oh, this is what you need to do. But
well, I love the questions though. You really just opened up a lot of ideas for me right now and just the way to think about this. So thank you.
oh, you're so welcome. So before we complete, I do want to really get clear with you about what
Sure.
will you do for the next step? Like, what do you see in front of you as a next step?
Well, today I'm just going to start looking I'm going to look up some videos on the actual topics of like intentionality, possibly, being productive, maybe a morning routine, and just look at videos and seeing like what inspires me, take some notes, and more likely I'll need to figure out like what sort of topics that I can formulate and talk about. And I just need to get up the nerve to actually talk about it on video and show my face like I'm doing right now.
You're doing it already.
I'm
Yeah.
good. You two people don't.
Here is Ismail already being himself here. And I mean, there's something about you that's so engaging that my guess is people will be really interested in what you have to say as you get clearer about where you're pointing.
I hope so, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. Definitely.
So I have a request for you, and the way we do requests in coactive coaching, I'm going to ask you something based on what we've already talked about, and you get to say yes, no, or a counter offer, which you could create to really suit you. So and obviously this is coming right out of this conversation we're having, but the request I have is that you do whatever you need to make a video. Like you could probably even do it on your smartphone to start with, just to make a video and talk about your day and what you're learning today, what decisions you've made, what impact you're having, and just play it back. Even so this is a little detailed, but play it back for yourself, get a sense of, is this the way I want it to be, or go on and create another. And
trial and error. Yeah.
Say it again.
It's like trial and error. Just see what it feels like, and
or
go from there.
Maybe another way to hold it as an experiment, trial and error. Like, how's it gonna, how are you gonna do this thing? It sounds like you have a lot of research to do, and that's a big thing. So like, what's one thing, that's the other question. What's the one thing you want to research to start? Like where are you going to focus this first video?
Right. I'm gonna have to write everything down, write all my thoughts and ideas down to figure that one.
Yeah. And are you willing to do that to
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Writing down?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Video? Yeah. And then how will you hold yourself accountable to, like, besides the fact that you've just said this in front of I don't know how many people, what else would you need to know that you're going to make this happen?
Well, I'm going to have my wife make me accountable. Tell her that's for sure, because she will make me accountable. And primarily, I just need to write it down and perhaps write it on a calendar. Have like some goals written down for the week and next week. When I wake up in the morning, perhaps maybe write about what I'm going to do, just to kind of get close to that idea, to those thoughts, to that video. I'm just thinking them out loud right now. That's what's coming to my mind, what I should do to be accountable.
That's great. So it sounds like you've got that handled, and I so trust you're going to do this, because I can see the fire in you and the light in you. And
Thank
I'm
you.
really excited for you. So again, I wanted to say thank you for being willing to open yourself up here and for sharing so much of yourself. And I noticed that there are things coming through in the chat that people are just really excited for you also.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
thank you for everything, Hope, and everyone that's watching. I do appreciate it. This is eye-opening for me. So yeah, wish me luck. We'll see how this goes. Thank you.
You got it. Good luck to you, Ismail.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail.
And
Thank you,
Roxane's
everybody,
back.
thank you for sharing. You see, I love that all the little claps and hearts flying across the screen for you, Ismail. That's
Beautiful.
really nice. Great. So again, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for holding the space for this coaching to happen. And what we're going to go into now is debriefing. You know, part of the way we work at Coactive is we want to have an experience, and then we talk about what is it we're learning from the experience so that we create learning together. So as you watch this coaching unfold, let's start to like, what are some phases you noticed in the coaching? Anybody, and you can put it in the chat if you want. Like what phases are different? I don't want to use the word steps because it's not a mechanical thing, but like just, different parts of the coaching you might have noticed. So I don't know if people can speak up.
Somebody said active listening.
Karen, yes. So these are obviously the core skill that we use in coaching. So active listening was there throughout, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So first step, I see the next one, definition of the topic you want to work on. Yes, we're holding the client's agenda, we call it. So our client decide what they want to talk about. And in this case, it's inspired by a section of the Wheel of Life.
Yeah. And there was some people are saying eye contact. Mary mentioned that, continuous exploring from Crystal, open-ended questions. And again, active listening. The open questions are so important because that's how Ismail can start to understand what he really wants. Because if I said to him, oh, here's what you need to do, and here's a formula, that obviously is not going to serve, because as I said, I've known him for 12 minutes. It's not, how would I know what he really needs? I couldn't possibly know. Yeah.
So we are bringing our curiosity as coaches by asking these, open questions to our clients, so that, as you notice in terms of timing, most of the time Ismail was talking, answering the questions, thinking out loud. And so we continue this exploration from the place, as Danielle was saying, from a self-assessment of the satisfaction. So that's our starting point. Once we've identified the topic, like what is your current level of satisfaction? A little bit of exploration about that with what you're mentioning, the eye contact, the open questions, the rephrasing, paraphrasing, I see people. And then we're going into, Catherine's pointing out, from the current level to the future. What do you want to have? What would that be? More exploration, and a lot of, as Kate is saying, a lot of noticing the client's energy. So like if there was a lot of what we call articulating what's going on from Hope, which is when we reflect back to our clients what we are noticing. So Hope was saying things like, oh, your face has lit up. I'm noticing your energy. I'm noticing your passion, the fire. So all of these things is reflecting back to a client, the energy we're picking up.
Absolutely. And somebody else earlier said there was also a paraphrasing and referring back to his goal. There were a few people who mentioned this, and I just want to underline that as well, that acknowledging the challenge, naming, like really getting clear that I am understanding what he's asking for right now. And being open to, if he had said, no, that's not it at all, that would have been also fine. Like, I don't have to get it right. What I have to do is present something that my client can react to and say, yeah, you got it, or no, you don't. This is actually what I mean. So that we're clear going forward. What are we talking about? What are we aiming for? So that's really important at the beginning of our sessions, that we know from, are we clear? Are we understanding where our client is coming from and what they want? Then that opens up the road for exploration. And well noticed, Jose, we don't provide or offer advice, even when our clients ask, because they might not know that in coaching we don't give advice. We actually, and we noticed the response from Hope was like, wow, I'm not going to vote on this, but you clearly fired up.
So,
Right.
that's information for our clients, like noticing, oh, why, yeah, actually, I am feeling this excitement around it. Maybe that's good enough for me for the next step. Doesn't mean, I'm not tattooing this next step on my
Right.
arm, but at least this energy is giving me some indication that might be a way to pursue, at least for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see, what else? Holding firmly accountable with a gentle push was nurturing, says Sylvia. And
yeah, around the action items. So we are finishing with some actions for sure.
Yes. And then Jose mentioned something else that's really important, that I'm not holding him accountable. If he had asked me to, I'd be happy to do that. But it's really up to him to decide how he will hold himself accountable, because it's, in the end, it's all him and his life. It's not mine. So if I would be helpful, great. If his wife is the person who's going to help him, great. That's what people need to see. Like, what am I going to do now to make sure I make this happen?
Yeah, and that's really leaning on our model that we see our clients as what we call naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. So at one point, Hope said, I totally trust, that you are, going to do something with this because you're so excited. So we trust our clients, and we trust that when they set up an accountability structure, so telling somebody else typically is what we're looking for with accountability. That's good enough. I'm not the boss or the parent, or I just want to create the container for my client to be accountable to themselves.
Right, exactly. And the other piece that goes with that, and this is a little bit more of a peek into how we train people down the road, is when, if somebody's holding themselves accountable and they come back to the next session and say, I didn't do what I said, that's also something for us to learn from. It's not like, oh, why didn't you do it? It's more like, what might have gotten in the way, or what ended up being more important to you in this time in between? Or perhaps we had the wrong focus. What is it that you really want to create from here? So the accountability is actually to create more learning about, how do I operate in my world as a client?
Yeah. So great comments, Surya. I think you really noticed a lot of things. I'm just highlighting a few more, like the championing energy from Hope. There were also some what we call acknowledgements. So when we see in somebody else some qualities, for example, the creativity, Hope said several times she was seeing this creativity in Ismail, and the championing. Yeah, I trust you're capable of doing this. Like, you're so fired up, you're going to do it. Yeah. So, in coaching, we really focus on attention on what is possible and how our clients know how to find their resources within themselves or out there in the world to pursue the goals of their dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. So our job, again, really the most simple way to hold it is to really be present to our clients, to listen with everything we have available to us, with our bodies, with our minds, with our hearts, to stay connected, and then to ask open-ended questions to help our client find their own way. It's much more than that. And those are really the most basic, important things, because how often do we have time in a session, that we have a half hour a week that is completely devoted to what's going on in here? And there's somebody here to listen and just help us see what we're actually talking about and what we need now. It's such an incredible gift.
Yeah. So it feels like we might be now moving to Q&A, unless there's something else somebody wants to add about the coaching you've just witnessed. But we might go to Q&A. So let's see what's in there. Oh, and Susan is appearing. Thank you.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. Did you watch my help with the Q&A? I think we all have access to it.
Yeah, we do. Okay.
Okay. So it's
yes.
not too late. If you have questions, everybody just go to the Q&A. We have 5 questions though right now, and we have 15 minutes left.
Okay. So the first one is, just like the Wheel of Life, what are some visual tools that can be used in an organization settings? Well, we have a professional Wheel of Life, which is sort of closest to what you've just seen, and you can totally personalize it. So there's one standard one. And then what I've done with some clients is I identify the areas. So I work with leaders mostly in organizations. So I ask them, so what are areas of your leadership that you actually want to look at that are essential in your role? And then we have them, rate them at the beginning or where they want them to be like by the end of our coaching process. And that includes things that are, like, for example, confidence or being approachable or qualities like that. So you can totally personalize it.
Yeah, it could also be things like managing my email, could be something that someone's really challenged by. So there are lots of different ways that you can personalize it, as Roxane said, and there's so many different ways we could go. And there are other tools that I think we have some available online. And Susan, you could correct me, but I think there's a
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have the coactive coaching book, which tells you all about coactive coaching, but there's also a toolkit that you can sign up for in the resources section on our website. And in the toolkit, you have access to a whole bunch of life coaching tools, organizational coaching tools. It's all separated there. And so I highly recommend recommend that you go to our website to the resources section and have a look at what's available there.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
next
then,
question.
The next one is how to define a coaching question or topic, or can any topic be a coaching topic? I would say pretty much anything could be a coaching topic. And part of our job as coaches is to really narrow it down so we could get clear about what is it in this person's world right now. It's not about like going back into the past and doing work on that. It's more about what's happening in your life. Where are you now and where do you want to be? And the coaching helps you bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to get to. I think that's maybe the way to say that. So anything in that frame can be a topic.
Work. Yeah. And I would say it needs to be something that the client is still working on, as not something they've already resolved and they kind of second guessing themselves and wanting to talk to you about. And also, I would say an important maybe precision is that we don't coach their topic. We coach the person,
right?
And they're focusing on their topic. So that's why it doesn't really matter which topic they bring, because our focus is actually on this person. And just the way you've just seen it with Hope, what is their energy like? What some beliefs they have around this topic? What the emotions they're feeling? The sensations in their body? What the body's telling them about it? And who are they becoming as they pursue this topic?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, next question. What is the difference between therapy and coaching? It's a great question. It's one that's been asked in lots of different forums. I know the ICF has a one-pager that describes many of the differences. There are some areas of overlap. And one of the ways I think about it is coaching can feel therapeutic, but it is not the same as therapy. Coaching, like I think sometimes, as many cultures, we've given our emotions over to therapy and to acting, and we tend not to think it's okay to have emotion in other parts of our lives. And with coactive coaching, we make room for people to have emotion, to express their feelings, but we're not. Coaching isn't focused on healing any long-standing issues. That would be more the realm of therapy. Coaching is more about what's here now, where do you want to go, what might be in your way, and those things in the way sometimes may need support of a trained therapist, and sometimes there are things that we can work on in coaching, and there's a lot more depth we could go into, and that we do go into in our courses about that.
Yeah, I would highlight.
I wanted to mention
where the focus is. It's really about present and future as opposed to past when we are in a coaching context, and looking at the development of potential.
There are two people in our chat who were not able to place their comments in the Q&A, so I just let them know that I'd take care of that. So Benedict asked how to work with clients on their resistance. Any advice on that?
So we have a whole module dedicated to working with what actually is, especially if it's got some emotional aspect attached to it. So resistance is a behavior or an emotion that a client might be displaying. We have to be careful not to label too quickly what we think that is, I would say. So I would say it's basically the same approach, but like really being curious with your clients about what is here now. Like if they don't want to enter a topic, we don't force it, it's their agenda, but we stay curious about like, what are you experiencing right now that make you want not to go there?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Or what's more important to you right now would be another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Did you want the second question that couldn't get into the Q&A?
Yeah, let's have it, and then we have them both.
Okay, Amanda just asked, what do you feel is the most difficult part of being a professional coach?
Wow. Oh, that's a really interesting question.
I can maybe give a nugget. It was my experience many years ago, and I hear it a lot from people I work with. I'm a supervisor as well for CTI. And I think there's, especially as we start, a tendency to put ourselves under pressure to be all sorted out and have our life perfect and be the perfect human being as a condition, a prerequisite to be a coach. Yes. And that is not true. If that's your belief, let it go. It is not helpful to think it that way. No.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think the other thing that I see sometimes is if your client brings something that's really close to something you might be working on in your own life, and believe me, this happens a lot, to really keep remembering that it's not about me, it's about my client. And so to manage my own feelings and opinions about whatever they're talking about, so that I can really give myself fully over to the space of coaching my client. I think that's something else I've seen people be challenged by.
Yeah. Which is an opportunity, of course, because it's an invitation for us to look at what we still need to work on. Because if people come with the same kind of topics, then it's life sending, that's my belief anyway, life sending me a very clear message about where I still need to put my attention. And it needs self-management, which is one of the context of our model.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing the next one. English is my second language. I'm wondering if CTI has transcripts for every class. Am I able to choose instructor based on my need? So I believe online you can enable the captioning. Is that right? Like now somebody has
the closed
decided to do that. So you would have access to that. We don't record any online training. When we actually doing the training together with the participants, and know that a lot of the trainers also have English as their second language, as have participants. So I think it's a level of awareness for all of us when we are, in the courses, that we make sure that part of the agreements we have to work together is make sure that English language doesn't become an obstacle. So you ask for whatever you need in the moment. And no, you can't choose your instructor for the training or the courses. If you go further in certification and you're being supervised as part of certification, and your coaching is in a different language, you can request for supervisors who speak your language to be assigned to you.
Yeah, and we do offer supervision, I think, in over 12 or 15 different languages at this point. So that's another piece that we do. So let's see. For the demo, does the CTI coaching approach encourage using empathic expressions based on the experience shared by the client? I think we probably wouldn't phrase it that way, but it's really about, again, being present with your client, being connected with them, reflecting back to them what you're hearing. So in most cases, that's going to feel empathic, but it's not about like, I want to make sure that I share with them how I'm feeling, or how they're feeling. It's not always the first thing we're looking at, but it's definitely part of the sort of underpinnings of how we coach. There's definitely empathic listening that is happening.
definitely. Yeah. I see there's some answers that Susan's put that in a training. Yeah. Oh yeah, the question about the wheel of life and no area on religion and spirituality. So that could be included in the personal growth area. For some people, that's enough. For some clients or for some coaches, you might want to add a section in your wheel that is specifically around that. If you know you have a a kind of niche around spiritual type of coaching, I would encourage you to include it. But it is included implicitly in the personal growth.
Yeah. And then if someone joins Coactive for coach training, once they're certified, will they be a member of Coactive and possibly get client deal from Coactive? Actually, what happens if once you're certified, you do get the opportunity to post your name and credentials on our website as a Coactive coach, and often people will be looking there for coaches who meet their needs. There's a way they can search for the coach that they're looking for. So that's mostly what we do right now. There are sometimes opportunities to coach in organizations, but that's a much more that's a different way that will, some of our faculty would be hiring coaches that are certified, but we don't have a specific set of client arrangements.
What's a reasonable amount of clients to take on? That's a very personal decision. Some colleagues have 40 clients ongoing and some have 5, it's a broad range depending on your availability, your energy, how you work. Personally, if I answer for me, around 10 to 15 clients is a good number of clients. Over 15 starts becoming for me challenging to hold everybody in my memory, in my energy. And then down to 5 is also okay, but it's nice to have variety and dynamic interactions with different people.
Yeah, and I think the other piece to think about is what else do you do in your time? Like, do you have a job? Do you have a family that you're taking care of? Those kinds of things. So it really depends. What do you want your day to look like? How do you do in terms of shifting energy and holding people? So some coaches will hold many more people, and people in organizations may coach, less frequently, more people. So much depends on you, your energy, and what else you're doing with your time. So that's another place to look.
Yeah, and for sure, the recommendation is to find ways to manage your energy. However many people you're working with at any time, that you find a pace and some structures that help you recover in between sessions.
Yeah. So how many in one class? We have a maximum of 25 people online, 26 in person. And then once you complete the initial 5 core training courses and go to certification, that's in a group of 9. And every other week you meet as a group of 9. And the intervening weeks you meet in trios. So they're small groups. The other thing I just want to speak. Oh, go ahead, Susan.
So sorry. I know if we're coming up to the last minute, and there's many questions that we can't actually respond to. So there are a number of responses that we did put into the chat. Did you want to say one last thing before we close the webinar?
Oh, I was just going to say, I know that there's a question about taking notes, and some people noticed I was writing sometimes, and it's really up to the coach. For me, I take notes for my own, for my own ability to be present, actually. I don't keep them and I don't use them after the session. I just write things as we're talking so that, if somebody says something I want to come back to, I have it. But I think each person is going to have their own way to do that. But the main thing is, how do you stay present? Are you better to write, or are you better to just listen? That's up to you.
Present and connected to your client.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Roxane and Hope. And thank you, everybody, for all of the wonderful questions. Mm-hmm. I know that there's probably even more questions that you have that maybe you haven't even posed. And I wanted to let you know that we do have this demo happening every month, one of these every month. But if you have questions about the coach training program that we offer, we also have a series of webinars called Coach Training 101 webinars and certification webinars. And if you have questions about the program and accreditation and all of these like detailed questions about the program and the coaching pathway, I highly recommend that you register for those, because you'd have a lot of time to ask questions of our customer service team, and they have great resources for you to help you make your decision about the program.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for being here with us, being so curious and engaged. Love all the input on the chat and the lovely questions. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ismail, again for being so generous and being our client today.
Yes.
Yes.
It's been delightful to be here with all of you. Thank you all, and special thanks to Ismail.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Yeah, see you another month.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.